township would have the opportunity to accept dedication of those improvements that the township wanted to take dedication of. That could include the roads, that could include the wastewater treatment facility, it could include, yeah, I guess those would be the two things. But that's, and the open space, excuse me. But the township doesn't have to take dedication of those. If the township doesn't take dedication of a facility, somebody has to own it. And Pennsylvania has a law called the Uniform Planned Community Act that says that the homeowners association gets created and takes responsibility for it.
So let's say we wouldn't want to have the roads dedicated to the township, but we would do the open space. Can you?
Yes.
Okay, so you can choose which. Okay, and the sewage treatment plant, you can say.
Those are decisions for the township to make, and they usually get made substantially further along the process than we are right now.
And just to, thinking about the one concern of the gentleman back here, where he was, I think he is also saying it wasn't necessarily the drilling of the well. If there's blasting and the rocks shift, it's still going to affect the wells whether you have public water or not. It's just the physical act of construction.
Thank you. Hi, Brian Capps, Gravel Road. I'm on the north end of Upper Frederick. First and foremost, people with wells, I get it. That is the first concern, right? You gotta have drinking water. And whatever this development does, I think that has to be taken into consideration, right? No ifs, ands, or buts. I'm standing here because I have a question for the whole township. What does this development cost us? What's this cost in schools, extra services? I remember last meeting we talked about an HOA where we had to take money from one fund and loan them $40,000. What happens with this if it's an HOA? Are we loaning more money? Are we getting behind? So I guess my concern after the well water and the safety of the people that live around there is what's this going to cost us? You guys are going to make I don't want to say the curse word. You guys are going to make a shitload of money. That's why you're here arguing for this. Well, what's it going to cost us? That's my question. That's what I'd like to see answered. Okay.
Yeah, I can say that for the immediate future, the applicant is required to establish an escrow account. So all of the professional fees for the engineers and everybody to review the plan and discuss the plan throughout the process is billed to that escrow, not the general taxpayers. Okay. Assuming everything proceeds through a full land development process, escrow accounts are reestablished as they're drawn down. And then when any project is ready to proceed with construction, there are either additional escrows, performance bonds, etc., to make sure that everything being built, if the developer were to walk away or some other event transpires, could be completed with that money or with those bonds. Beyond that, I can't speak to the cost of borne by the school district. Again, there's other variables at play here regarding dedication for roads, open space that would change the amount of liquid fuel money the township would receive from the state. Obligations to maintain the roads, the open space, wastewater treatment plant. As you mentioned, those are separate funds within the township budget. So were the township to take ownership of a wastewater treatment plant, that plant would be supported by the fees paid by residents of that community. So it's hard to answer your question, but in theory, that's how everything would be paid for.
Can I have to come back up again? Say your name again for us.
Susan Myers.
Thank you.
In tailing on that, is there a provision for, if it does affect someone's well, their well goes dry, they have problems such as this, for the surrounding wells, and if there is, for how long that would last and what it would cover?
Yes, so there's two, I believe, and Vicky, correct me if I'm wrong here, there's two separate requirements in the township ordinances for well water that pertain to quantity and quality and requirements for ongoing testing. And those would, I believe the quality is at 10 years? Is it same with the quality tests?
Hold on, I picked quantity first.
Okay.
I don't know, there's a fund that has to be established, that has to last until exhausted or until 7 years after 90% of the dwelling units in the subdivision have been sold and occupied, whichever is earlier. And then the quality is same thing. So yes, there are requirements in the ordinance that would provide for that. Can I, just off the record for a second, can I ask you if you're okay? Do you need to get some water? Okay. Let's just check in on somebody who's been typing away here.
Can I ask you a question?
Wait 1 second. Are we all okay? Everybody's okay? Anybody need a break? Okay, we have another question, so I want to make sure we go back on the record before we start. Sir,
Brian
go ahead.
Capskin. So, back to that ordinance, 7 years, so on and so forth. I thought I read somewhere where it's like, if, you know, around the wells and things like that, if there's something wrong with the surrounding wells within one mile, I think it is, it's the developer's responsibility to fix those.
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct. Sir? Hold on.
Sorry. Hi, my name is James Miller, I live on Big Road, straight down the street, and the question I was gonna ask, she just asked it for me. But the other concerns I got is the water tower, which is gonna be almost directly behind my house. The privacy, what kind of privacy am I gonna have with the development back there? What are you gonna do for me that will block the development, so I don't have to go out my back door and look at it? If it
Yeah,
happens.
there are ordinance requirements for landscaping, which we'll, get to eventually. Your engineer may want to expand on that if we're not, but there's requirements for buffering all that, which will have to happen.
Property line and site elements.
Setbacks from my property, I don't wanna look at development, I don't wanna look at a water tower, I don't wanna see lights.
The township would also have the latitude where for some reason your home was built a while ago and it's particularly close to a property line or something like that, that, we could beef up the intensity of the buffer in that particular area. Or, I believe, Tim had indicated that the well tower is more like a silo or something like that, and it's partially in the ground. So there's things that can be done there where it could be painted a certain color, or we could have landscaping put around that so that, because I believe the ordinance wouldn't allow it any higher in the home anyway, like 30.
Correct, it's not high in
That's
the
why I
air.
asked it.
It's not high in the air, no. And wherever the water tower came from, nobody meant to describe some big water tower system in the air. It's more like half an egg sticking out of the ground, and we got it buffered or painted or whatever else.
Yeah, and I know landscaping is one of the last things typically discussed in this, but in past projects, is this something that you've been open to, working with residents to address these types of?
Noise pollution, I'm concerned about noise pollution. I like to go out, I go in the front of the house, I gotta hear the big road. I go in the back of the house, it's nice and quiet, I'm looking at farmland, the farmland in which you're proposing to build a development. I've lived in rural areas all my life. I moved here because of the farm fields behind me. Now I gotta look at development. That's a shame, that's all I got to say. Water quality is a big concern for me. My wife is a cancer survivor. Water quality is the utmost important for her. I've got systems installed in my house now just to ensure that she gets good quality water, and that's based on the quality of water I have right now. So
We will look into water, tonight was the first I heard about it, so, we weren't even trying to ignore it.
I live next to Dennis. My filters haven't been changed out as frequent as he has, but I've been changing them more often.
Mine's not been changed out as much as we can, so you can tell it's getting worse the closer you get to it.
Yeah. Again, if the development had my vote, they wouldn't get it. Sorry, but that's how I feel. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Janine Ritz-Kratz. I live on the street on Big Road. You wouldn't have my vote for development either. I'm heartbroken and very saddened to hear what this lady has to go through. I've lived in this area for 60 years because it's rural, because it's farmland. My father is a farmer. My brother continues to farm. And you shouldn't vote this through. We should fight as citizens as hard as we can to stop this from coming into our neighborhood. I don't want to see it. I think you're wrong. It's going to affect schools. We're going to have to get our own police here. We're going to have to get more firefighters. We're going to have to get more ambulances. A lot of this community is senior citizens that are already strapped. Boyertown School District is looking to increase taxes this year. What kind of tax is this going to put on us in the future years? We don't need it. We're here saying we want it rural, we live here because we're rural, please help us keep it rural. That's why you're voted in, because we trust you to stand up for the people. Thank you.
Natalie Crawford, I've heard the word school being thrown around by multiple people tonight, and I heard you mention that it could be a senior citizen or 55+ community as brought to the last board. Personally, as the last person stated, it could put a lot of stress if it wasn't a senior citizen, because it would put a lot of stress in schools. And I, at Boyertown East, in a ambassador meeting, I toured all the new students that come in. And already so far this year, we've had an influx of new students. And that's not just because there's been more people moving here, but because of New Hanover when they got all their development put in. That's bringing more traffic into our school. And I know the last new student I toured around, her math class, she doesn't have a seat in her class because there's not enough space. And she couldn't be put anywhere else. So currently she's, I'm pretty sure she's sitting on the floor somewhere. I don't know where, but that's what she's sitting. And in a lot of my classes, there's not enough space for people that are sitting there. So when we bring in new students, it's a matter of what gym locker are they going to be put in, or is their stuff not going to be locked up at all. It's a safety concern because we're running out of lockers. It's a safety concern because there's too many people in the hallways during passing periods, and you can't get around without getting shoved into a locker. It's mainly a safety concern because there's just generally too much people there already. And when you bring in even the possibility of a new development, I know that a lot of my fellow classmates, if they were to hear about this, wouldn't be very happy about it because there's just, even with the influx of people in the building already, I know this morning I took a benchmark test in social studies. I know that I don't trust a lot of people in my class to not look up a paper and cheat, but if you had to push the desks closer together, I have a desk between me and the person next to me at least, so I didn't have to worry about him cheating up for me, but I'm worried about the person across the aisle who asked me for the answers to the class prior. I'm worried about the person behind me who I can't see if he's looking at the paper or not. And honesty is really important to me as a member of the Ambassadors, as a member of the track team, because I know academic dishonesty can get me booted without question. Without question of, did I give them the answers willingly or did they take them from my paper? And that's just a really big concern of mine, and I know it's a big concern of many other people in my class who have higher positions in higher clubs than I do. I'm an officer for band, I'm band ambassador, I work close to the student council, I'm in youth and government for the first year, and I don't want to lose any of our positions there due to dishonesty or possible physical altercations in the hallway that I didn't mean to happen, that I didn't mean to get dragged into. My brother at high school, you can get 45 days out of school suspension for defending yourself in a physical altercation. For putting your hands up to stop the person from hitting you, you can get suspended for 45 days. And even if you don't, you can still get suspended because you're involved with it. And that's something I'm scared that will happen to fellow classmates or myself in my school building. And I really hope that this possibility of it being a senior citizen development, if it is to be pushed through, is sincerely considered because, as somebody else mentioned, most people that do live here are senior citizens. And I know you mentioned that most of the senior citizens, I know my father is, he's retired, they they're sitting around. He's my chauffeur. He's got a lot of time on his hands, and right now he's using it for this. So I know a lot of senior citizens, they might have the time on their hands that they're not using it with anything. Therefore, there might be some money in their pockets that they could put into the community to better it, and not just make it worse with costing us more money and possible taxes to build these schools because there's too many kids.
I appreciate your comments. When you get home, you can talk to somebody about those. I'm sorry, I laughed. That was funny. It was supposed to be good, and then all of a sudden she brought it really close to home.
She thought he was senior.
I'm sorry. But I would say, just in light of her comments, and obviously you take all the comments as they are. But one thing I had suggested, just to maybe change your framework, and we're pursuing this. And I'm not saying that for anyway, we're pursuing this, is what we want to do. What I had offered is a lower number than what we have here, of 55 and over, just to clarify, not senior citizen, but 55 and over, you don't have school-age children. That's like a federal requirement. So you can't have anybody in the school system. But at 55, you might still have a full-time job, you might be making a lot of money, you might be paying a lot of taxes. You have nobody in the schools. We offered public water and public sewer, which would eliminate a lot of the water concerns. We even talked about not building on the other side of Big Road. Leaving that an open farm, let somebody farm it. And build 55 and over housing on the other side. You have nobody in your school, that becomes a financial win for the township, because everybody's paying all the taxes. The school district's gonna bring in hundreds of thousands of dollars a year and no extra students. You don't have to deal with water and sewer. I'm just saying, there are ways to address the concerns. If you want to explore them, we can explore them. I got to the point with the last board and the last planning commission that was off the table, and that's okay. If you say we don't want to discuss it, that's okay. I want you to know what was thrown out. I mean, it's not like we came in without ever trying to address it.
Why didn't you come and meet with us with a sketch plan, or you know, in the past, we've been here for a year and we've never seen you.
We didn't know we were allowed.
Well, there was some whatever communications back and forth from the last administration to you.
Yeah.
It was in the newspaper stating not to submit any plans, wait till the next board. We came in. Why would you just immediately suspect that we wouldn't want to speak with you and that you weren't allowed?
Hang on a second. That conversation can happen, right? The applicant has offered.
But it didn't happen.
Hang on a second. The applicant has offered an indefinite extension.
But it didn't happen within the past year,
Okay,
so we're sitting right here.
So it didn't
that kind of
happen.
negates that.
So the applicant has submitted an application, and the applicant has then said to the township, you can have an indefinite extension of time to review that application. Perhaps while that indefinite extension is in place, these conversations
But
take
you
place.
kind of strong-arm us into this.
No, we can have that conversation next month.
But why didn't you come in and speak with us? I mean, you know, this is a tangible, a legally tangible plan right now.
When the new board was running, there seemed to be the position that they were against this development. So why would we ask to sit down and work everything out when they were against it to begin with? And I'm not, maybe they weren't, I'm not putting words in anybody's mouth. But if they were against it, how do you have a conversation about, hey, how can we make this work? I'm just saying, we're open to it, we can do it next month. I'm not, okay, we didn't do it for last year, I'm sorry, but I didn't think it was an option. We can do it next month. I expected tonight to go kind of like it did. And now you're gonna say you don't like the development. And I'm just saying, we never tried to strong arm anybody. I know it feels that way. We never did. We tried for 2 years to come up with a plan that worked.
Not with us.
I know.
And that matters.
Well, how about I can't do 2 years of just seeing whether anything can happen, but I'll certainly come next month with some ideas.
But what also is true is that the township amended the ordinance to significantly reduce the density available at these properties.
That was not good faith in working.
That's also a true fact.
One at a time.
The reason why that took place, and then we should move on with this, is because the comprehensive plan of the county, the regional municipal planning committee, which we belong to that, we were putting ourselves in compliance to all that. With the county, the regional municipal planning committee, and that's why we did that. We didn't know you were doing anything. You know, again, we all walk around with these things, and we can go to E360 and look at these websites. It's, you know, kids can do it.
Part of that was like negotiating our fair share with the other.
Right.
The reason that it's taking place when it's taking place wasn't targeting anybody or any property owners. Not everybody was happy about it, and some people, you know, hated it. Other people loved it, but what it was is this is the year that the comprehensive plans for the county, the regional, and all the communities that belong to regional update their comprehensive plans. This just happens to be the year we're doing it. So we're redoing our zoning to get in line with the county, the region, and what our community residents want, the future of our township. That's why the rezoning is taking place. There's still a little bit more tweaking to be done, but it's not targeting any developer, any one person. It's putting the community the way it was supposed to have been done 15, 20 years ago, but nobody took any action on it. And that's why there's new people on these boards, is to take the action and get us where we want to be.
Do we have anybody else from the public? Oh, go ahead.
Sue Myers again. So is it my understanding that it is a possibility that you could come back with a plan for a 55 and over community?
If the township is willing to work together in a productive fashion, yes.
I would say that would be much more desirable than what that is.
With discounted houses for current residents?
Well, protection for 50 years.
I like where I live.
Ma'am, in the back.
I just want to commend this young lady for getting up and talking in front of everybody. Explaining her feelings as a younger person in the community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for future generations.
So we're good with public comments?
For now.
Okay. So we're gonna make it,
Oh, no.
were you gonna
Gonna
say
give
something?
a summary.
Oh, go ahead.
So, again, I'm not going to belabor the legal points that I made earlier. As Tim said, is perfectly willing to explore discussions with the township on some alternate form of development. That presupposes that both parties are acting in good faith, and I'm not going to belabor what the law requires for good faith any further. But certainly, and please don't take this as a threat, it's not intended as a threat, but I would imagine, I haven't discussed this with Tim, but I would imagine that if there is a summary denial of this application, that the next steps will not be any amicable conversations, but rather we'll be duking it out. And we do not want to do that. So we're asking you to operate in good faith, do not put us in the position of what we would consider to be unnecessary litigation. But at the end of the day, we will do what any property owner would do, and that is protect our rights in the property. Thank you.
Back to the board and court.